Hello, I am back for some more chain making. I'm finishing up what I started yesterday, or I'm planning to anyway. So, welcome. I'm trying to figure out the best way of doing all these things, so my setup is now quite funny. On my workbench, I have like a laptop and an iPad and my phone, and it's all like starting to get a little cramped, so I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to do this, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there for sure. And I'm enjoying this. I think this is fun, and frankly, if I can make it work, I'll come and stream for a little bit every day. I think that's awesome. As long as people want to see it. I'm not sure how entertaining I am, but you know, won't know if I won't try. I've started calling these maker chats. So, oh, I just realized I'm like behind my window here. So let me see if I can do that a little better. There we go. I'm not sure how well this streaming quality is now. Let's see, good enough. I'm also wondering if I can move this window over. I tried that yesterday, but I don't think it worked. So, you know, still figuring things out. Always open to feedback. Somehow I lost one of my little guys here. So that's a bummer. Yeah, it says I have one viewer. Oh, 0 viewer, 1 viewer. I don't know. Who knows? I'm still not quite sure how to see things. Still trying to figure that out. I seem to have some ghost users in my chat when I open the chat window, which is interesting. It does look like I was able to move over the camera window a little bit, so that's great. So here we go. How's that? Anyway, I lost one of my little beads yesterday. I don't know where that would have gone, but those little boogers, they get lost pretty quickly. I use these little 2mm beads for my chain connections, and yep, they tend to get lost. Found one of them like on the other end of my room. I have no idea how it got there, nor how I found it, because it's so tiny you can't really see it, but you know, I take it. Alrighty. Well, I'm saying this again, if anybody's here, since I can't tell. Make sure to say hi in the chat and let me know what you're up to, and we can do some chatting. That would be fun. Otherwise, I'll just keep doing my thing here. It's not super exciting, but it has to be done. And if I can figure out a good way to do it later, I will show you how I oxidize these chains, because that is something that's been a pain for me for a long time, until I figured out a little trick. And now I can actually oxidize chains and then tumble them, which has really been the struggle before. It's like not the oxidizing itself, but the cleaning and polishing after, because, you know, doing that by hand with a chain is really quite annoying. But I have figured out a good way to do it safely in the tumbler without getting crazy tangles. So pretty good. And if you stay tuned until I'm done, or check back in later, I'll show you how to do that. Alrighty. Always making sure we don't have any snaggy pieces here. Sharp ends, tuck them in, tuck them under. There we go. Usually I do chains in bulk, but these were for one of my favorite clients, and she wanted 2 specific lengths that I just didn't have readily available, and so I'm making them real quick. It's not hard. And I don't make the chain, I buy the chain. I just add the connections and the hooks and all that, make it mine. In my dashboard it says I have 1 viewer, and I wonder, is that like myself maybe? Maybe I have like a window open somewhere and I'm the viewer myself. I don't know. Kind of clunky with the stats, I have to admit, but I don't know how to do that better. And now I have to make the extension chains. Normally I do that with scraps, but I don't think I have enough scraps to do that. So let's just see what I got. This is my like big scraps box where I keep stuff that I can potentially reuse. And then I have another scrap box, which is just stuff that there's actually some pieces in here that could easily also just go. Why did I do that? So now I feel like I need to sort my scraps. These pieces, so as soon as it's more than like an inch, I usually keep them. If for nothing else, sometimes I use these to like try something, or for like if I need like a quick jump ring or something like that, you know. But yeah, I mean, these are like failed projects, like this guy failed. This one is supposed to be a bezel. I guess it got too small. Cut-offs here. These are cute, aren't they? Totally failed. Fully failed, completely failed project. I'm very sad about this one. I don't like looking into this box because, oh, look at that. I don't know why these long pieces are in there. Anyway. What I do want to do is I want to make a extension chain, respectively 2 for these chains, and I usually make them with scrap wire, and I use 20 gauge wire for them, and then make them and see if I have enough scraps, and then if I do, I will I think these are not 20 gauge, but I think they're 22. I will use that, and if I don't have enough scraps, I'll just use regular. And a 22 gauge. I can tell by now pretty well. This one's at 20. 22. These other ones are all, this one might be a 20. Yep. This one? I don't know. Nope, 18. And these guys, oops. Yep, I think these are 20s. That's how I really started getting into making these chains, is because I had all this scrap wire, and 20 gauge specifically is like, when I make pendants, it's the gauge I use all the time. Not so much anymore because I haven't been making as many wire woven pendants. But anyway, I always thought it's kind of sad, what do I do with all these scraps? And then I started making chains with them, and I just use these bail making pliers, and I just use the smallest step, and always make sure you've got nice flat ends. And there we we go. I will be saving these live sessions as recordings and posting them to my YouTube as well. Don't know if anybody wants to see it, but hey, why not? It's filmed and might as well, right? Alrighty, there we go. Easy as that. And then I don't worry about them being a little crooked just yet because I will be flattening them with a hammer later, so it's not a big deal. And then these go back into my scrap bin, which I still use a lot of, actually. I melt the scraps and reuse them however much I can. Because it's sterling silver and it costs money, so. But I don't make enough. Like, I don't have enough scraps that it's worth refining. Is my camera focusing at all? Yeah, there we go. I don't have enough scraps that it's worth sending them in to refine. So I end up just trying to use them as much as I can. This one, probably too short. Needs about an inch, maybe a little less than an inch to make one link. And I use, how many do I use? Do I use 5 or 7? I forget. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 per chain, so I need 14 of these for the 2 chains. And usually I have some pre-made, actually, now that I think about it. Let's look if I have some. No. There's more scrap wire. There's some scrap weaving wire, and then here's some ring blanks that I always keep around because, you know, necklace blank that I haven't woven together. Alright, so this was 4. Oops, sorry about that. And then let's find some 20-inch wire, and we'll make some more just out of regular non-scrap wire. There we go. I don't usually like working off the spool, but for this kind of task I totally work right off the loop because I don't know how much I'll need, and it's easier to do it this way. I'm just having to, here we go, fight with this thing. Okay. I said I don't know how well you can see that on this camera, but basically you always try to get a nice flat end by using the flat side of my pliers just to make sure it's not pokey or pointy. I do not file these. I think that is more than it needs. Oops. Kind of awkward positioning, so. There you go. And then I just try to clip them as close to the end, and then they usually end up a little open, and I'll fix that later. Yeah, this is probably not a great time for live streaming either. Most people are probably at work, which is where I am at work. What else can I tell you? It's summer. Weather's finally calmed down a little bit. I'm in Solvang, California. So we've had it quite hot over the last, I want to say maybe month and a half. Oh, my husband's walking in. Turning off the light in the kitchen that I left on.
You're welcome.
I'm streaming, just so you know.
What?
I'm streaming. It's okay. We both work from home, and my studio space is next to the kitchen. I'm basically using the den, oops, as my space, and you know, when he needs water, he comes running in the kitchen, and then he's usually pretty loud while he does that, but that's okay. Yeah, so where was I? California, it's been hot, right? And then we had this like hurricane turned tropical storm coming through last weekend, but we're actually too far north. We didn't actually get any of it. It didn't even rain. But it was very, very humid. Like, it was super muggy. It felt like Florida for a couple days. And since then, though, the temperatures have gone down to a point that it's actually been pretty nice. So kind of between like mid to high 80s, and it's been just perfect. That's for us here. That's perfect temperature. We're kind of in a valley, and the wind always comes through, blowing through. So when it's like 70, it's actually kind of cool with the wind. But 85 is sort of ideal here. It's like not too cold, not too warm. It's perfect. So it's been nice this week. Very nice. And then we're dog sitting a dog for friends. We have our own dog. She's an old lady, Java. And now we have two dogs for the minute, because we have Ivy, our friend's dog, here. And Ivy, come on. Ivy's very sweet. She's like a puppy. Hi. She likes to play and cuddle, which my old lady does not, which is quite nice. It's fun. I'll post a video of her later on my Instagram story, so you can check it out and see her. How many do I have now? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. How many did I say? 14? Okay, a couple more, and then we got it. So this is actually kind of a relaxing activity. Sometimes I just do this for a couple hours. Or you know, I grab it and sit in front of the TV and do it. It's pretty satisfying and relaxing. And again, I think I explained this yesterday in my stream. I don't technically need to make these extensions. I could also just make, you know, a larger loop, or kind of like the hook, but close it up by, you know, wrapping the end around here too, and then having that to hook into. Because this would be too small to, I mean, you can hook into it, but it's not convenient. It's hard to do that when you're actually wearing the necklace. So I make these extension chains because I personally like it better to have something like this, so I can change the length of my necklace depending on the neckline of the clothes I'm wearing and things like that, or the pendant that I'm hanging onto the chain and such. Alrighty, my Shopify is now going into some ads. Shopify? No, Spotify. Wow. I found like a free playlist on Spotify, so that's what's playing. And I don't have a premium account, so we get to listen to some ads. First time for me to have that running in the background. So I'm basically just now going back and closing these loops, because if they're open, these get to kind of tend to tangle up with the chain. So I try to make sure I I just close them tightly, and then I do one more thing to them before I actually use them, and that is I hammer them with a nylon mallet, or you could use like a rawhide mallet or something like that, to harden them a little bit. That way they're a little bit more stable. Otherwise they just bend back and forth, and that would not be good. Alrighty, there we go. Oh, I just remembered, since these chains are so tarnished, I'm gonna turn on my pickle pot. I'll show that to you in a bit. To pickle them before we oxidize. You can't even really see them, right? They're right here. I'm gonna change the background here. Next time I'll clean up my bench and I'll turn it around and use the black side, and I think then the contrast is going to be a little bit better. This is a stainless steel block that I use for hammering. And it's not a lot of hammering we're going to be doing, so it should be fine on camera, I think. Okay. So I use this like cheapo nylon / rubber mallet, and just give it about 10 or so taps. And it helps flattening them out too if they're not quite flat. Sometimes that opens them up again, so I always make sure. But we can do that properly later too when we assemble them. So, and that's all. What I enjoy about these streams is it's just the pace that I'm at, right? I can't speed up my work since it's live, so you get to see the full spectrum and not just the sped up 3-second process videos that, you know, Instagram and co show. So this is fun. I've seen a lot of really fun creators on Twitch that do really intricate silversmithing work on camera, which is just amazing. I have to admit, I'm not sure I'll be able to do that. I have a hard time sometimes talking and working at the same time. Oh boy, this one got a little bendy. It's fine. Just round it out again. There you go. All good. So this is what's called work hardening. It's hardening the material to a point that it's not so soft anymore. Sterling silver, that's not true. The wire I buy is what's called dead soft. You can buy half hard and hard wire. Hard wire I would not recommend to get because it's just, you can almost not work it for jewelry anyway. Half hard might be the better option for this kind of component, but I don't wanna have to stock 2 different types of wire for essentially the same purpose. So I just get the dead soft and then I harden it. What this means is like the metal, the molecules inside the metal are getting pushed together as you work them. Working meaning like bending, shaping, hammering, is basically making them come together closer, which makes the metal harder, and eventually it'll break. And you can reverse that process by annealing, meaning heating it up to like a certain temperature, and then it will be soft again. So that's sort of the process that relaxes the molecules, and you can manipulate it again. And it's good to know that because you can use that to your advantage. So yeah, and now we'll assemble them. 7 to chain. 3, 6, 7. 3, 6, 7. And I usually use my hand on one end, so I find it easier, and then just open it with pliers. Did I get it from this stack? I think I did. And what's important, this is like a jump ring. When you open jump rings, always open them sideways. You never want to open them this way because that'll misshape them. But if you open them sideways, you can bend them back without losing your curve. If you're just joining in, since I'm not 100% sure who's currently joined, say hi in the chat. I do see that it's 2 viewers. So, you know, if you want to say hi, let me know you're here. That'd be awesome. But, you know, if you don't want to, if you just want to lurk and watch, that's fine too. Okay. I'm noticing that I'm like pretty often ending up behind my webcam, so maybe I need to move that webcam to a different spot. Maybe we'll move it up here. What is that? How does that look? I love that I can do that, like, as I go. That's not the case like 5 years ago. There we go. All right. And the nice thing about 7 of these is it gives you about 2 inches. And 2 inches is a nice extension chain to work with. So 5 is okay too. If you do 5 lengths, you have about 1.5 inches. Alrighty, here we go. That's 1. And I don't know if that camera position is any better. Hey, Farmer Andy, thank you for joining, and thank you for that note in the chat. You're asking if I buy all my wire or if I've ever thought of casting and making my own. As of right now, I buy my wire. I don't have the setup to do casting. It requires a lot of extra tools, specifically a rolling mill and a draw plate. And those are pretty hefty, big tools. And I just don't have the space nor the funds right now. I'm also not certain it's worth it since I work almost exclusively with wire. I use some sheet metal depending on what I make, but it's mostly wire that I think it's more cost effective for me to buy it. But I have definitely eyed the thought of buying a rolling mill and starting to do some, you know, smelting so I can especially reuse some of my scraps. But, you know, I haven't really made that leap yet. It's at the moment not really something I'm looking to do. Alrighty, well, here we go. Is that the right number? I feel like this is short. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's one missing. Did I put one extra on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Indeed, look at me. Alrighty. And what I'm gonna do next is the secret trick Anyway, I think it's a secret trick. I just figured this out like a few weeks ago, which is awesome because especially when you assemble these chains in bulk and you want to oxidize them, you end up having to hand polish, and that's a really big pain in the ass to hand polish these. So I use these little plastic, I think they're called bobbins. They're for embroidery floss normally, or for any kind of floss or thread. And you can wrap your chain around this pretty nicely. And then I usually use like a piece of wire to secure it, make sure it's really tight. That's important because if it's not tight, it will come loose in the tumbler, and if it comes loose in the tumbler, you will have one tangly mess that you might not be able to get back up. So here we go. This is just a scrap piece of weaving wire that I'm using to tighten that. Yeah, I think it also depends on wire working, what you do. I use my fingers more than my wrists, but especially silversmithing can get really hard on your body. So sometimes what I do is I use like my scraps and melt them down and then hammer it flat to use as sheet, which frankly would be much better done in a rolling mill as well, but I don't have one. But it's hard on the body. I have like some stenosis in my neck, and I can only do it like every so often, and then I just have to stop. Just a bummer because it's fun to do it. Like you can let out a lot of emotion there. Anyway, so this is nicely tightened up here and secured. So I can throw this as is in the tumbler. So I'm going to do that with the other one. I just don't have another bobbin. I have to get one. And then I basically oxidize them. Or first I clean them because this is tarnished a little bit. So put it in a pickle and then I oxidize it. And then I throw it in a tumbler twice, actually. I use a tumbling medium that's like a plastic medium to take the oxidation off. And then a steel shot to polish it. And that works really, really well, especially when you have a lot of chain that you need to do and you don't want to do it by hand. All right. I think for the day, I'm going to be done, or at least for now. I might come back on later. I'm still trying out things and figuring out setups and all that. So thanks for stopping in, Andy. That was fun chatting. Hope you'll get to do some work with silver. I love silver. It's just a fun medium. It's more high-end than copper, which is what I started with, but it is more affordable than gold. So I really love working with this. Anywho, I thanks for joining, and I'll hope to see you soon. Bye.